All right. Today I'm just going to do a real quick one. I was doing some work on the CRM and wanted to be able to redirect dynamically to some different stuff because I was extracting some code. And I was going to have to do a whole bunch of, well, not a whole bunch, a little bit of dynamic programming, concatenating strings to call methods dynamically, and that's a big pain. And then I was like, I wonder if this would work. And it did. I thought I'd share. So, all right. So what I'm working on is inline editing. So I can come into these sections and just click on this and edit and make the change and update the note. So what this is, I'm using Turbo for this. So what's happening is I got this inline edit form that I pass in the object and the attribute that I want to edit. And then in here I put in the non-edited, the normal content. What this is doing is it's reusing a frame the ID for the form, and it's going to just do a form with model. We're going to make sure that we're using that form there. We're also using the same form here, and we're going to actually be using the same form ID in the on the actual edit page. So what this is going to do is this is basically when we look at it, if we inspect this, what we're getting in here is the form with the inline content. So this is getting the inline attribute form note 13. So that content is dynamic in there. And then we look down here for the turbo frame. This has that same ID. What this does is when we go to the edit page, this is going to be wrapping around the edit fields. So when that gets pulled into this page, when we click on the edit link, that's going to stick that, it's going to rip that section of the form out and stick it into here. So that's what's going on there. So it creates the form with, it creates the tag. It lets me then put in whatever I was going to be doing. And then I put in here the edit. And this is going to direct towards the edit page for the note. And this is where the magic is going to happen. So we'll come back to this in a sec. So the way this ends up looking is I click on the note. I can do the edit, update the note, and we're good to go. Now I want to do the exact same thing over here on the task. So in here we're going to inline edit. We've got a task. Here we're going to be doing the description. And that's what it looks like up here. So if we inspect this, we've got the form. We've got the, so we can see here it's the inline description form, task, and then IID. Now, one thing you might have noticed is I was hard coding that edit note path, which, yeah, like we could do something different in here. So we could do something like, I don't know, path is edit underscore, and this would be model dot class dot name dot downcase edit path, and then calling this dynamically or doing something like that. So that'd be one way to approach it, which is what it's kind of initially going to do. I also know, but I do know that if you do something like this, where you go link to modal, this will figure out where it should go. So this would give, normally this would give you something like, this would use the same kind of lookup to say, okay, well, this is a user, so this is going to be the user path, and then an ID of whatever the user ID is. So the thought I had is, can I go in here and do edit? Well, actually, let me just show you. So if I do this and refresh the page, when I come here and look at this, for the URL for this on the edit button, this is going to task 7. If I look down here at this one, this is going to give us notes 13. So that's right, except for it doesn't have the edit part. So that's where I had the idea. I'm like, I wonder, can I just throw edit in here? And when we inspect it, this is now task 7, edit. So it did exactly what I wanted. And that kind of convention is pretty common through a lot of the different places in Rails. So that's kind of why I just took a guess in the dark and it worked out. So with that, I can go into here, and I actually haven't tested this yet on the task. Yeah, I haven't set up the edit task. But I can go in here and do that whole process. And just kind of restoring this back into here, what this actually ends up looking like is this. So I've got I'm doing markdown in here to mark it down. I can do inline editing, and then this has a kind of a read more type concept. So if I reload, then you can see, for example, for this note here, if I hover over it, it has show more. So I can show more to blow up the whole thing. We're getting the markdown, and if I click on it, I can edit this and do whatever I need to do here. So that's kind of the gist of it. So the big thing is that the more you get to know Rails, the more little things like this that are conventions that kind of work, and you can take advantage of. Instead of doing a bunch of different things, you can kind of pass in this case. This is because the URL2 does a bunch of stuff to try and figure out what you intend. So the better you know those things, the better you can kind of grab into them. Anyways, so it's going to be short. That was kind of it. So that's just a little pro tip. Yeah, you can use it.